This video demonstrates new cybersecurity enhancements added to SCADAPack controllers and RemoteConnect software. If you are watching this video, it is perhaps because you have read the label notification on your new SCADAPack, or you have attempted to connect to a new SCADAPack controller with RemoteConnect version 3.5.3 or older and have received a message like this one saying the action was unsuccessful. This video will demonstrate how to resolve this issue and, more importantly, how to manage security locking on your new SCADAPack controller. But first, let me explain what this message means and the purpose of the new package label. Schneider Electric believes cybersecurity is critical in today's connected world. As such, we have added new mechanisms to our products to improve their cybersecurity capabilities. This includes SCADAPack because cybersecurity is relevant to all IP-based or IP-routable devices. As of January 1st, 2020, SCADAPack controllers now ship with a cybersecurity feature that requires initial configuration before the hardware can be used. As a result of the addition of the cybersecurity feature, customers receiving new SCADAPack controllers will also need to obtain updated tools in order to apply controller configuration. A label highlighting this requirement has been attached to the SCADAPack packaging. Included on the label is the following list of software tools that have been updated to support the cybersecurity enhancements, which includes RemoteConnect. To unlock your SCADAPack and resolve this issue, you will need to update your RemoteConnect version to 3.6.3 or newer. As you may have discovered, older versions of RemoteConnect will not be able to configure new SCADAPacks equipped with a cybersecurity feature. Contact your local support team or this email to obtain the RemoteConnect update. Once updated to RemoteConnect 3.6.3 or newer, you will have three choices for managing the secure lock on your new SCADAPack. Option 1, disable the security lock feature. And if security lock is desired in the future, a cold boot or a service boot will re-enable it. Or apply the security lock with a password of your choice. Or downgrade the controller's firmware to remove security locking altogether. Typically, you may want to begin with option 1 to disable the security lock because you will need to have the controller unlocked in order to edit and write configuration changes to it. You may choose option 2 to apply the security lock later after all configuration is completed and the device is placed in the field. Note that the security lock blocks all configuration commands, but protocol access is not blocked for communications with other devices or with the SCADA host. We will discuss option 3 later. We'll begin with option 1, how to disable the security lock. Note that the device must be unlocked or the lock feature disabled in order to edit and write configuration changes to it. This option will disable the requirement for a security lock password. A cold boot or service boot is needed to re-enable the security locking if desired in the future. If you have other SCADAPacks on your network that use firmware without the cybersecurity feature, this option will set the new SCADAPack to operate like your existing SCADAPacks. I'll demonstrate now using RemoteConnect. I have a new SCADAPack 575 connected to my updated RemoteConnect. I have version 3.6.3. I'm connected over a USB cable, and I'm going to select Online. And here it is. I have a new SCADAPack, so it does arrive locked. If I don't see this dialog and I am indeed connected, the status says connected, then I'll need to perform a cold boot of the controller to reinitialize controller security in order to see this dialog. So to disable device locking, I select the second bullet, a device does not require a password, and apply. The information message displayed confirms the desired result, and it also states the requirement for a cold boot or service boot to reinitialize controller locking if needed in the future. With the security lock now disabled, my status page has been updated. I can see in the locking state here that it says no password required. And if I select device lock button, I see the same information we saw a moment ago about the current state of the locking and how to re-enable it if desired. Now, with security locking disabled, let's look at a few items that should be mentioned when working with a device with locking disabled. In the future, if you need to cold boot your controller, note that the security lock will be reactivated, and you will need to disable locking again as just shown. If you have users in your organization that intend to remain using RemoteConnect 3.5.3 or older, then disabling the security lock will allow these users to configure the RTU without issue. However, if one of these users needs to cold boot the controller, the security lock will be reactivated, and only RemoteConnect 3.6.3 or newer can disable locking at this point. All the more reason to have all users update their PCs with the latest version. So how would I re-enable the security lock? Well, on that information message we just looked at, it tells you here that you need to do a cold boot or service boot. So doing a cold boot, the security lock will be reactivated automatically, and when I select online, I'll get this dialog again. I can then apply a password and enable security locking. But a cold boot erases controller data, so that's a bit severe just to re-enable the security lock. So we also have the option of doing a service boot. When we go online with a service boot, we'll be presented with these two options. One, to keep it with no password required, or the other, to select Initialize Device Locking. When you apply that, again, the dialog appears here, which is the one where we can apply a password or decide again to disable it. The advantage here is that the controller's data has been retained. Now, as a service boot, do be aware that you need to follow that up with a power cycle to execute a run boot so that the logic and configuration run again. Looking at option 2 now, applying the security lock with a password of your choice. Let's go to RemoteConnect. Okay, again, I have a new SCADAPack 575 attached over USB to my RemoteConnect. I'm going to select Online, and because it's a new SCADAPack, it will arrive locked, and I'm presented with this option here. This time I'm going to apply a password, so I will keep locking. We must enter at least a 8-character or longer password. It's successful. Now, it's locked, so let's see, if I wanted to write configuration, this should not work. There we are, transaction unsuccessful. And if I wanted to update objects in an object browser, again, unsuccessful. So this is what we expect. It's still locked, but the difference this time is that we know the password. So I'm going to enter the device lock button here and enter our password to unlock it. Here it is, it's unlocked. And the status is updated saying it is unlocked here. So now I can write configuration, update a object browser to read data. And then when I'm finished, I would leave the controller locked. So again, I would apply the device lock. Lock the device with the password that we already have entered. And that leaves the controller secure now. Let's summarize how we work with a password-locked SCADAPack. So whenever you need to communicate with RemoteConnect and a locked controller, the first step is to unlock it. So we do that. As soon as we go online, it will prompt us for that password. Then we use RemoteConnect to execute any commands, browse data, write configuration. And finally, we relock the controller using the device lock button to secure it. Now note that the locking blocks all configuration commands, but not protocol access to the SCADA hosts or peer devices. Looking at the last option, to downgrade the controller's firmware, remove security locking. So to remove the cybersecurity feature from being enabled on the SCADAPack in the future, we replace the controller's firmware with the last version before security locking was introduced for your controller type. This option may be helpful in the short term, but downgrading firmware means you are choosing to not take advantage of any improvements, fixes, or new features associated with maintaining up-to-date firmware.